today I'm going to give away a free t-shirt, ask and answer a question, and reveal the books I bought this week. How y'all doing? I'm Victor, and you are watching The Comic Hero Show. Now kick that intro! Edition of The Comic Hero Show. I'm your host, Victor Nunley, and I am The Comic Hero. This month is Endometriosis Awareness Month. I'm going to touch base on that later on, but for right now, it's time to give away a free t-shirt. Alright, on last week's episode, I asked, former tennis star Alice Marble was once named associate editor for which book after suggesting the addition of a section on real superwomen? Well, the correct answer is Wonder Woman. And 10 people have answered correctly, and because they've answered correctly, a name's been entered in a drawing for a free tee. And that drawing takes place right now. So the winner of the free tee for this week's episode of the show is... Alexis Oglesby from West Monroe, Louisiana. So congratulations, Alexis. You win yourself a free Comic Hero tee. All right, here's a question for next week's episode, and this is another women's question, or in observance to this month being Women's History Month, this is a question that has to do with a female comic book character, and this is a Firestar question. Firestar was originally created for the Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends animated series in 1981. What year did she become comic book canon? Was it A, 1984, B, 1985, or C, 1986? Now here's the hints. The first hint is that the Live Aid concerts were held in Philadelphia and London to raise money for African famine victims in this year. The second hint, movies like Back to the Future, First Blood 2 Rambo, The Color Purple, Rocky IV, The Goonies, and Weird Science all premiered in this year. The third hint, TV shows that premiered this year were Growing Pains, 227, The Golden Girls, MacGyver, Robotech, Spencer for Hire, Moonlighting, and Thundercats. And then the fourth and final hint. Popular songs from this year were We Built This City by Starship, Don't You Forget About Me by Simple Minds, Into the Groove by Madonna, Careless Whisper by Wham, Raspberry Beret by Prince and the Revolution, I Want to Know What Love Is by Foreigner, and I Miss You by Climax. Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in a drawing for a free tee on next week's episode of the show. So, I gotta ask, any questions?
Questions I walk around in, questions that end with driving, questions that will survive in, questions.
This question comes from Joe Stokes from West Monroe, Louisiana. He asked, out of the 3 cartoons, which one would you rank the first, second, and third? G.I. Joe, The Real Ghostbusters, and Thundercats. Ooh! Joe, I'm going to answer this question. I'm going to get myself in trouble for it, but I'm going to do it anyway. And I'm going to start with number 3. Now, number 3 would be The Real Ghostbusters. Now, like most children that are that grew up in the 80s like we did. Oh, by the way, Joe and I were both 80s kids. Because we were so small, we kind of did things backwards. When it comes to cartoons, that was our first exposure. And that was my first exposure. I didn't watch it, Ghostbusters and Ghostbusters 2 until I gotten a little older. But then when I saw the Ghostbusters movies, I started appreciating that a lot more than I did the animated series. I mean, the animated series, to me, when I was growing up, was just spot on perfect. But as I got older, I started appreciating that. Although, granted, there are times where I will go and see if there's any episodes of Real Ghostbusters that's streaming. All right, number 2 would be G.I. Joe. Now, G.I. Joe, of course, my first exposure to it was the cartoon. And oh, by the way, I just want to throw this one in. But another hint for the question is that after 2 miniseries that have premiered in 1983 and 1984, G.I. Joe finally became an animated series in this year. All right, but really love that. Really love G.I. Joe. Kind of screamed bloody murder when Deke ended up handing over the rights from got the rights over from after Sunbow canceled and after the commercial success of G.I. Joe the movie. But G.I. Joe, I mean, if that's ever streaming, or I find out that's on TV or anything, or if it's on if it ever premieres on MeTV Tunes, I'm on top of that. Best believe that. And then my number 1, Thundercats. Oh! I mean, Thundercats was that cartoon that had some of the great catchphrases like that, or Great Jaga, or Mumra when he transforms. I'm not going to go into that, but for those of y'all that have ever watched y'all know exactly what I'm talking about. And so much so that when I found out there was there was a comic book series that was by Dynamite Entertainment, I immediately said I would read it. And I have read the first 11 issues, and it does not disappoint. Oh goodness. I mean it's close to the original series. The original series lasted 4 seasons, and let me tell you, if you have not ever seen the original Thundercat series, old or young, do it. I mean, even if you can find it streaming live somewhere, or if it's also in the lineup of cartoons on MeTV Tunes, or if you want to be even bolder and buy the DVDs that, there's a complete series of that at Walmart. If you want to go out and buy that, do it. I mean, come on. There are 2 cartoons that really came on. There was another one that Joe didn't mention out of those, and that was Silverhawks. Just read the first issue of the Silverhawk series. Woo! My gosh. I'm sorry, but the one thing about 80s cartoons, you just had to be there. But I know I got a little excited with that question, but that's just how I am. I mean, the 80s were a great time for cartoons. But I'm really loving these questions y'all are asking me. Y'all keep them up, and remember, they have to have anything to do with comics or anything within the realm, or they have to have, or just like what Joe asked. And they can also have anything to do with me in terms of both the show or the hobby. But remember, no personal or tasteless questions. I will neither ask nor answer them here on the show. All right, let's get to the comics I bought this week. Comic books I bought this week. All right, here we go. First up is Absolute Wonder Woman number 5. The Amazing Spider-Man number 68, Point Deaths. Now, this is a cutting room floor to the current Spider-Man story arc entitled The 8 Deaths of Spider-Man. Detective Comics number 1094. Fantastic Four number 29. The Flash number 18. Gotcha Man number 7. Green Arrow number 21. Green Lantern number 20. Iron Man number 5. Justice League Unlimited number 4. Power Girl number 18. And folks, this book is back after being absent for a few months. Radiant Black number 31. And I'm really excited about this book, folks. Red Hulk number 1. Superman number 23. Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles number 7. Ultimate Spider-Man number 14. Ultimate X-Men number 12. West Coast Avengers number 4. And finally, X-Men number 12. All right, that's 19, which brings the total number of comics that I bought since December of 1997 to 13,500. All right, well, I hope y'all enjoyed this week's episode. And here's a question again for a free tee for next week's episode of the show. Firestar was originally created for the Spider-Man and His Amazing Friends animated series in 1981. What year did she become comic book canon? Was it A, 1984, B, 1985, or C, 1986? All right, here's some hints to help. The first hint is that the Live Aid concerts were held in Philadelphia and London to raise money for African famine victims in this year. The second hint, movies like Back to the Future, First Blood 2 Rambo, The Color Purple, Rocky IV, The Goonies, and Weird Science all premiered in this year. The third hint, TV shows that premiered this year were Growing Pains, 227, The Golden Girls, MacGyver, Robotech, Spencer for Hire, Moonlighting, and Thundercats. And then the fourth hint, popular songs from this year were We Built This City by Starship, Don't You Forget About Me by Simple Minds, Into the Groove by Madonna, Raspberry Beret by Prince and the Revolution, Careless Whisper by Wham, I Want to Know What Love Is by Foreigner, and I Miss You by Climax. And speaking of the first hint with Live Aid, We Are the World also came out in this year. The song We Are the World. Everyone who answers correctly will be entered in the drawing for a free tee on next week's episode of the show. And congratulations to Alexis Oglesby from West Monroe, Louisiana, who won a free tee on this episode. All right, now this month is Endometriosis Awareness Month. Now, endometriosis is a disorder in which tissue that normally lines the uterus grows outside of the uterus. With endometriosis, the tissue can be found on the ovaries, fallopian tubes, or the intestines. Some symptoms include painful periods, pain with intercourse, pain with bowel movements or urination, excessive bleeding, and infertility. Now, 200,000 women per year are diagnosed with endometriosis, which makes this condition common. And I personally know some women who are living with this condition, and I can only imagine what they go through on a daily basis. So, but if you're watching this and you happen to be a woman living with endometriosis, or you happen to know someone living with endometriosis, I love y'all, and this episode is for y'all. All right, this is an endometriosis comic hero tee, and if you would like one, you can find them on IamTheComicHero.com/shop for $17, and I will donate half of each purchase to the Endometriosis Association of America. All right, here's the road ahead for the show. On next week's episode, I'm raising awareness against multiple sclerosis, or MS. Then on episode 517, I'm raising awareness against colon cancer. On episode 518, I'm raising awareness against cerebral palsy. Then on episode 519, to kick off the month of April, I'm raising awareness against testicular cancer. Now, sometime this month, I'm also going to raise awareness of kidney cancer, and I'm going to celebrate St. Patrick's Day. So y'all tune in for those mystery pop-up segments and whatever episodes they may appear on. All right, I really love doing this episode. Doing the show rather. I love doing every episode, but really love doing this, and been doing it for a little over 11 years. And you know, folks usually ask me, out of all the episodes that I've ever done, which one is my favorite? And without even second thought, I tell them the next one I do. Because, you know, whenever I do an episode, as much as I appreciate it, it becomes a distant memory, and then I get even more thirsty to do the next one. So, and I say that to say this, and whatever you do, always stay thirsty. Always want to look forward to what comes next. All right, if you're watching this for the first time on YouTube, welcome. And as soon as you're done, hit subscribe. If you're watching this on the East Texas Comic-Con fans Facebook page, welcome. And as soon as you're done, go on YouTube and hit subscribe. If you're watching this on the Louisiana Delta Content Creators Facebook page, welcome. And as soon as you're done, go on YouTube and hit subscribe. And if you're watching this on the Comic Book Lovers Facebook page, welcome. And as soon as you're done, go on YouTube and hit subscribe. All right, I'm Victor Nelly on the Comic Hero. I'll see you next week for episode 516. So until then, be safe, be blessed, be a hero.